friend Trevor in South Africa decided he wanted to have a go at one or two of my photographs that I just sent him across. He's really into watercolours more than acrylics. I'm trying to persuade him to have a go at acrylics as well. I think with his colour sense, he'd be really good at acrylics, and they'd be far looser for him than the watercolour. But he's just simply one that he struggled with. He had a go at this one I've just shown you at the start of the film, where I've superimposed the girl in. He won't realise I've had out, but I superimposed her into that street scene and in a couple of others as well, which is very useful. It's a street in Provence that I took, about 15, 20 years ago now, and I'm gradually using some of them up. As you've just seen on my other films, possibly that big square I've just done with the acrylics, this one. So what I'm going to do is show him, or show you, how this can be done in several different ways. And what I've been saying is we need to be able to have as many different methods and styles for our different mediums for what we want to say. So we have the best choice of medium and method for the subject. In this case I'm going to do this as a watercolour for him, and then I'm going to do it immediately afterwards as an acrylic. Same picture, to show how differently we can handle it. The picture could be handled in dozens of different ways, hundreds of different ways, in different mediums, in different methods, in different styles. And that's totally up to us and how we feel, what we feel best suits this particular subject matter. So we'll have a go at this. I'm not going to use very delicate watercolours for this. I'm going to use the stronger Russian watercolours. I rather like these Sonic ones. I'll be able to see the palette as I paint from it directly and as I work on the painting as well. And then we're going to use a very loose style where we start tightly or fairly tightly on salient points of the picture. And then, once all those salient points are done, we'll gradually tighten up. We'll put in some of the lighter areas, leaving the whites behind and sparkling. And then I want to go directly wet next to wet across the rest to get all of these deeper mid-tones in, and finally finishing up with the darks. Very much a wet into wet, a wet next to painting. It's this brilliance of colour. Trevor's problem has been that he's getting very muddy colours. He's mixing muddy colours, and he's also glazing and making muddy colours. And we want to try and show him, if possible in this painting, how we can get much brighter, purer colours even with watercolour, which we should be able to do with watercolour, being a transparent medium. So these are the Sonic watercolours, nice, strong, bright, vibrant colours. And then I've got my collection of brushes. I've got one box over here and another case over in France. In fact, I've got two cases in France. But I'm not sure where I'm going to be using things most. But here I've got a nice selection of everything from hakes, to rakes, to combs, to round brushes, to flats, to wash brushes, oval mops and so on. And as you probably remember from me, oval mops are one of my favourite. But I'm going to be using today mainly the oval mop and a few little round brushes, and maybe a flat or two as well, because I've got some square areas to deal with. But mainly my mop, I have a feeling, because I do love using my oval mops. I'm going to start with my sky and work my way down. Usually I dampen the colours first, but these colours should be pretty. These colours, we should be able to use these colours almost directly. I want to first of all work out which is going to be my lightest blue for the sky. I want a nice cerulean sky here. So I'm just going to mix up a little wash of cerulean. And I want that wash to come down into a lighter pink at the end. So I'm going to be wanting some magenta, which I haven't got in this palette. Possibly the nearest I'm going to have is going to go here, with this purple here. Right, let's just get the glaze going of this. Straight away into it, and I want to work directly, this whole painting done almost in one go. So I'm just going to get this sky done first, and let that just link in before I go on to painting some of the salient points, as I was saying just now, and then I shall work over the whole painting gradually. So I'm just going to put a wash of this blue just down into here, just to get the feeling of these cool colours immediately before I start putting the others on. Nice fresh clean colour. We've got this beautiful strength of colour already. Straight into here, a bit stronger there, right into wet, immediately here. Put these windows in. So I'm painting some of my salient points immediately. Some most important colours, lightest colours first, before I even think about going on to. And these are where I want the harder edges at the moment, because these are going to dry first off. Bit of blue coming into there. Start painting some of these salient points. And we'll just work out these windows. I don't want to do too much yet because I do want to paint the details first on this. It seems a strange way of going about it, but it's a very useful way of going about it as well. And while that's still damp, just let that come down into here. We'll just find some of these cools, or existing cools already. I want softer edges as well. Let that come down into the sky here. And we already know that things will dry lighter in watercolour than when we paint them on, so I'm already going to paint in. Now, down here, I want a little bit more warmth. Just lift that out a bit and just take a little bit of my mauve. I don't think that red's going to be the one I want. It's going to need to be this mauve here. Just want to bring that down into the sky just down here and let it come right down through that building already. And I want to strengthen the sky up. So I'm going to make that blue much stronger and really come down with that wash now it's wet. Let it cascade down. Dry my brush out and just blend it down into here, into this mauve. The paper's on a slight tilt deliberately so that I can let this flood down the paper. Right down through and in. Try and keep clean, bright colour. I want that nice and even. Okay, we've got that bit now. We just let that just come round and round, down around into here a little bit. That will do for my sky. Quick and simple as that. Right, and let that just dry off. I'm going to use the colour that's on my brush, just here and there, to build up some tone. You can see how quickly I could do this. So I want to come back and paint some of these deeper details in before I even get that far. Just come down here and follow it up by just getting a glaze over here. Nice clean colours, bright colours, and immediately you've got a feeling of light. Now, details, the figure. Let's go back to a smaller brush, a round brush now. This is a number 6. I want to look at this figure. But again, I want it to be in some detail but fairly loose. I'm going to just put a little wash, keep it very light there, of the blue here. I do want it much lighter on her back there, that's it. That blue is going to come down here. She's in half light. Right down through there. We're going to paint over and around her. Might not think we can do that, but we can. And a bit of that purple now. And to let that go wet into wet down here. We're used to painting details over in watercolour, over the background. But here, with this technique, I want to show you, we can do the details, what are the details first, and then come back in very loosely around it. And these different reds, I've got to explore a little bit with these colours because I'm not used to this. I'm more used to my Winsor Newton finer watercolours, and these colours are a bit stronger for me to use. So as I'm not used to them, I've just got to work on this little bit to leave those bits of white showing. They're quite important. Just to be quite cool on our hair, so I'm going to use a little bit of lemon yellow there. And leave the white just showing. And then back to my raw sienna again. Just drop that in. Let it come a little bit darker just round there. Just into the side of her hair. Now I'm going to go stronger with that red. It's a cool red, so I'll add a little bit of warm into it in a minute. right down here, just dropping it in. You see how clean that colour is? We're not making it muddy, we're not going to overglaze it. We're keeping it nice and clean. That'll come right down to here. Keep it simple, a little bit of the red coming into her hair as well. Just down around the bottom here, to the neck. And when we put the darks around here, she'll stand out quite nicely. Now back to my blues and purples. I'm going to drop in a little bit more of the blue into her dress. Here. So I'm going to take a little bit of the sienna, just drop it down her leg here. Just find that. So to indicate things like the feet, I'm not going to get too much into detail on that. Back to my red again. We'll just drop that red down the leg, just to give an indication of the leg being there. Just those blobs of paint, clean, pure, and don't start going over it or you'll get into a right mess. Leave that to dry off a bit now, so we can put the details in a bit later. And that figure is basically done at that, although I'm going to just take a little bit more of the dark colours, just a touch, just to go a bit darker into here, her shoulder for the moment. But I don't want to do too much yet because I don't want to paint wet into wet here. I want that to dry off a bit so I can paint details onto that in a minute. Just coming around there. So we can drop in some very pure colour. Take a bit more red, a little bit of light red here. We'll just drop a little bit of that red in there to really make her glow. Again, I'm going to take a little bit of that, now the leg's dried a fraction, I'm going to drop a little bit of that red down into her legs. Just a wee bit there, just to give a bit more warmth to her legs. Just a feeling to it, that's it. Any more than that. So it's these little details that I want to do. This lamp up here, it might seem a strange thing to do, but yes, I want to work on the lamp a little bit, so I'm going to take a little bit of purple and just tint that down a bit. Any of the details that I need to just pick out? No, they're little things. I think we can look at these here. Take a little bit of cadmium orange there. And just go across the top, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, just a little bit of cadmium orange just over the top here. Before I come back in with my bigger brushes and really loosen up into this. Wet into wet there, but clean colour, clean pure colour. There's no dead colour there yet at all. I'm going to drop those other colours in as I go along quite loosely with my big brush. A bit of Payne's Grey. I don't normally use the Payne's Grey in the darks, but in this case, as I'm doing a more decorative piece, I'm going to do that. Dark just there, just around here, and where the lamp comes out already, doing this sort of detail. It's a strange thing to do. You might think, what's he doing all that detail now for? That should be done at the end, but you'll see why when I do a bit more. And I'll come over with the other paint, and these darks will be, these details will be left in watercolour shining through, which is quite handy. And again, as I'm going to come back with bigger amounts of paint over and across this. Do I want any more little details? Yes, we've got one or two small minor details going on. For instance, there's this little dark area here of a lamp. Right, I don't think there's much more detail I need to do. And I'll just work on these leaves here a fraction. I'll take some pretty light lemon yellow for that. My small brush, and we'll just cascade those down through here. Just a little bit of wet into wet and then dry onto that in a minute. And I want to drop in some lighter blue into that to get a lovely vibrant green. A little bit of wet into wet until I want to do some details. Clean, bright colour, so different. What I want you to get used to, Trevor, is if we use these wet into wet colours I want to keep them clean. So we get to feel the lights against the darks almost already, even amongst these leaves. Look at these pure colours that I can add to give the vibrance. Warm against cool, light against dark, rough against smooth. It's quite fun to come back from doing acrylics to watercolour. It's good to move around, not just to get stuck into one thing. Right, any more details I need to do? No, I think I can do the rest of the details when I do the main painting and drop them in at the end. So we're just going to let that dry off a second. Right, it's time now to carry on directly working into the... I'm going to try and accomplish this almost in one go straight through. Start off with a little bit of my lemon yellow, just to come down very thinly down here, get some of the sunlight going. I'm going to drop one colour into another, very, very wet into wet on the whole of this now. Don't want muddy colours, that's the main thing we're after here, is that Trevor wants me to show him how we can keep nice bright clean colours, and you can see how I can go over something there, which is what I wanted to show you. And we can just use this directly to go over the whole of this straight away. It is a glaze, but it's keeping it nice and clean, and these paints are not as fine as the Winsor & Newton, so it's quite interesting possibly for you to see how we can still do some glazing. I've got to concentrate on what I'm doing here with these colours. Right down and around, we're going to put quite dark colours around in a minute, but I really want to get this flowing first of all. So let's really now start to bring these beautiful colours in here and work right down through. It's dry in the sky there now, so I can work right through here with my wet into wet colours, leaving some areas. I want to go fairly dark and just have this variegated pattern coming down here. You see already that we're not nice, clean, bright colour. A little bit of dry brush work just dragging across there. Now we've got this lovely turquoise blue grey going on coming down here. I want to just start to get that in, leaving stripes and little bits of light. There's a lot of white going to be left. So I'm going to be doing some dry brush work here as well in a minute. Clean colours, put them on and leave them alone. Just put it on and then leave it alone. For heaven's sakes, don't start playing with it. So a little bit of sienna just to kill it down a bit. Drop that lovely orange into there. Straight across the whole of that. We're leaving that light just glowing. That warmth can just come into here. Some of it's going to come up into the wet into wet here. It's very light at the moment. I'm going to go much darker on this as I go along. Just want to drop these colours in so that they will affect the colours that are coming up in a minute. Fresh one into another. Put the colour on your brush, put it on, leave it alone, don't keep fiddling about. Now that's going a little bit muddy, don't want that. In fact I've got a little bit to lift out there, I see. I shouldn't have painted that bit in there. Let's just lift that out. Which we can do with the dry brush look. Just lift that bit of light out there that I've gone over and don't want to go over. Suck that paint out there. Come back there with some darker colour in a minute. Start going much darker into some of these areas. Take a bit more, a little bit of burnt sienna. Start to bring that into this. I'm going to start actually indicating these windows shortly. In fact, right now. You can start drawing things in. That green I want back again on my brush for under here. Finding these shadows. Some lovely colours happening, and I want to start to really push those now. Lovely ultramarine and purple. Find this drain pipe coming down here a bit more. Again, lost that a bit. These different blues one to another. Really cool blues there. Cool against the warm blues. I find these steps coming down now here. I try and keep these pure colours as I go along. Start to indicate railings and details a little bit now. Go to some darker colours here. Dropping those into these beautiful purples. You can see my light against my darks really starting to work. Doing some details first and then just gradually building it up and indicating. Dropping them into the, just blend into the background. So we're getting a lovely effect of light hopefully happening here. I keep painting into us like that, I don't mean to do. To do a bit more dry brush work here, but it's not really allowing me to. Could use a square brush for this, but just to see if I can get away with this brush. That should have come right down to here. Get the feeling of the shadows again. Don't go into too much detail. Things are just starting to dry down a bit now, so any darks that I'm putting in are going in slightly sharper edge, which is what I wanted. Just gradually pick out these darks and lights more and more, trying to keep the pure colour. I hope this is helpful to you, because you can just get an idea of how we can create something so fluid. Really push some of these colours now. Got some gorgeous blue greens going on. I can finish with a smaller brush if I want to, but that's got my effective light in. That's got my feeling of light in here now. I put a few darks around lights here and just bring that without using black at all. It's just pure colours. The same as we're trying to do with the acrylics, keep those pure. It's a smooth paper I've got here. It's a knot paper by the feel of it. So I shan't be able to do a lot of texturing, but I can just drag a few of these little bits of texture here just to give us just that little bit of dimension. Now, maybe we want to just lift out a bit here and there. Could use a bit of white gouache as well if we want to. I've got some white paint here, I might just flick a bit of that about the place for fun. But let's just see if we can lift out one or two spots. And come back to my smaller brush again. Just see if I can add any final bits of detail. There might be a bit of shadow here and there. I hope this is what you were after seeing. I'm going to start putting in a little bit of opaque paint now, using a bit of burnt sienna here just to pick up on some of these ones that I've lost a fraction to. What's all on opaque? As if I was using a little bit of gouache, I'm going to take some white, Chinese white in these, and just put in a few little highlights back in again that I've lost here and there, if we can with this. It's going to be quite thick to do it. It's got to be quite a good thick little mix here. We'll just touch these bits of white back in places like this. And do a few highlights to bring out these bits of light that I've lost here and there. I mean, it's only a piece of paper after all. If I go wrong, I go wrong. That's whether I want to darken this side or not. I think it's a big risk, but I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to just put a wash of a green purple over there. A bit of that blue into it, that turquoise. So I want that to be a bit darker. Bring it right down. And put it into more shadow. And really strengthen that colour up there. You've got to be brave at times. I mean, if you don't, the painting's always mediocre, so unless we really try something new, can't always tell what's going to work. Really pushing these colours in watercolour, which we're afraid to do normally because it would be so delicate. Strong, vibrant, slightly overworked in places, but fun watercolour. Quite fun to work with pastel on this one actually. I'm going to take a bit of water and just blend that down a bit there. And then just back to my white I was using earlier on, just a few more highlights of white here and there I think. White gouache should be better, but in the event of not having that with me, I'll use a little bit of Chinese white. Could have used masking fluid here, but I wasn't going to, so I'm just going to play with a little bit of this Chinese white. There we go. Trevor, to give you some ideas maybe. Have a look at that, shall we?